Season 2, episode number 47, coming at your ears.
Let's go. We got a guest for this episode.
That's right. We've got Maura Casados of Maura Jane Photography joining us. I think you guys are really going to like this one. We've got a lot to talk about with her.
This is an episode, honestly, for everyone. Vendors, couples, parents, everybody can pull a golden nugget from this episode for sure.
That's right. Everybody. Pets, dogs, cats.
Anybody who can listen to anything, this is the episode for you.
This is the episode for you.
If you have ears or eyes,
this is the episode. Are you breathing? If you are breathing, you should listen to this episode. All right. Now this one was fun. We got a few different segments today. We're going to get into it with Maura about her business, of course. But you're right. She dropped some great golden nuggets and tips for us. We're going to get tipsy with her and do some wedding tips for all the couples out there. And she's going to give us her favorite tracks at the end of the episode as well that she likes to hear at weddings.
That's what I liked about all of the segments is each segment we were able to kind of pull a little tip out of each one. Of course, the ones from Tipsy, grab bags, but even then, like if you're looking to advance your skills as a photographer, looking to grow your business as a vendor, there's a lot of cool tips in there on how to just grow.
That's right. We're all about growth.
All about growth here at Cutmaster Music and the Cutmaster Cast. So let's go ahead and jump in.
Let's go.
What's wapa? She's got you running errands, picking up wedding dresses. Wapa!
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
You are now listening to Cutmaster Cast.
Yo, 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 welcome back to another round of the Cutmaster Cast. This is your weekly dose of wedding industry insights. My name is Chris Romero.
And my name is Tony Pacheco. What's up, everybody?
And we are DJs with Cutmaster Music out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Welcome to Season 2, episode number 47, I believe.
48 right? Or 47?
I think this is, I don't know.
It might be 47.
I think it's 47.
Yeah, you're right.
So on this podcast, we explore our weekly events, wedding industry tips and hacks. And at the end of every episode, you know how we do it.
We take it back to the music, baby.
That's right. And today we have got a very special guest. Joining us in the studio is a remarkably talented individual who's been capturing love stories through her lens, creating memories that last a lifetime. And she isn't just a photographer. She's an entrepreneur, a visionary artist, and an inspiring figure for many in the wedding industry. She's none other than Maura Casados, the creative force behind Maura Jane Photography. Welcome, Maura.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an introduction.
Solid intro.
Flattered.
That was good.
That's right. I've been working on it this week.
That was good. I liked it.
No, I think, I know that it probably doesn't even talk about or do justice to half of what you are, but yeah, so we're going to get into it today. I can't wait. But thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you for inviting me. I've been following you guys and your podcast and was so honored to finally be invited.
Heck
yeah.
You're our first guest of season 2.
That's right.
Oh.
That's cool.
So, no, we're stoked and excited. Can't wait to learn more about you and your business. And I know a lot of people out there follow you and have been maybe following your journey as well. So we're going to talk about all of that and get into it here. But before we do that, we like to typically start off the pod with talking about the recent events that we've had, maybe the past week or so. So are you guys in slow season right now like us, or have you been doing some events and doing some photography?
It is our slow season, but we fully embrace it. We're all
For real.
Yeah, we're all moms and, have families. And so January, February, March is like our downtime.
Yeah.
But we're also gearing up for wedding season to kick in April. So just prepping for that. And it's booking season. So all the couples who got engaged over Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and then Valentine's Day is coming up. So we're starting to book like crazy. So we're really, really excited for 2024.
Yeah, it's looking
It's
looking like a pretty good year. I know there a lot of, I've heard some people in the industry talking about how this is the gap year, right? Where during COVID, we were secluded, so people weren't meeting each other and together, and then and it usually takes like a year and a half to 2 years before the engagement happens from meeting. And so people weren't meeting until after COVID. They weren't able to gather and get back together, right? And so now all these engagements and weddings will be happening.
It's funny. I feel like Bao is the perfect example. He's Bao, don't you? Haven't you worked with him?
Bao.
One of our other DJs.
Oh yeah.
So he just got engaged.
Oh,
how exciting, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, Bao.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, our Bao is growing up.
Oh.
He was one of his students when he was teaching.
Oh my god.
Back in the days.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So that's really cool. But yeah, he's a great example of.
Now you're aging me.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, of those people, but even with all of that theory, I feel like I'm still trucking along. I've got plenty of weddings for this year.
Right.
Trying to.
Same booking season.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. We did notice a dip last year, and we thought it was just us, but no, it's never just you. Like a lot of the other vendors were experiencing that, and when I finally did read, I think what you're talking about, I don't remember where the article is from, but it was a dip in people dating because of COVID.
Yeah.
And now when I'm talking to couples and asking how they met, they're like, "Oh, we met during the pandemic."
During the
so
pandemic,
it was hard we did over the phone a lot, and I was like,
"Yeah,
oh man."
I'm noticing that a lot more too. It's a lot more of a trend to have met through an app, online, or just through those mediums. So it's interesting to see that too, and it's still working.
And a lot of my couples will seem ashamed that they met online through Match.com, Bumble, whatever it is now, and I'm like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. That's just like the day and age that we're in. People are meeting online.
Yeah.
Totally.
And skipping meeting the wrong person in a bar.
Right. I feel that same way too. I had a couple just I think last week that reached out to us, and I got that same vibe. They were like, "This is gonna sound weird, but we actually met online." And I'm like, "No, you're not." It's definitely becoming more common.
Exactly.
It's very common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're seeing that trend as well. So. Cool. All right. So, any events for you?
No, we took a weekend trip to Rio Doso, saw some of my girlfriend's family, and then we saw Mischievous kill it on Sunday.
That's cool. Right. Victoria is
one of our DJs.
Yeah, was doing where was that at Launchpad?
Yeah, it was for all the girls or whatever, but it was guys and girls, but it was definitely a twerk fest, I'll say that. And it was funny because I went.
I need video of you.
I was not. I was like. So we went. It was a good time. I was there to meet the owner of the guy throwing the event, Riots, and then also support one of our DJs. So I was like, okay, cool. 2 birds, 1 stone. So I go there. It's fun. We're having a good time. It's starting to get really ratchet. And I look at my girlfriend and I'm like, you want to go to the balcony? She's like, yeah. Because it was getting raunchy in the dance floor. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. But I just wasn't. I was like, okay, let's go watch her from up top because this is too much.
Lies. They were all around you while you were twerking up on it.
No, it was like it's too much. When you got your girlfriend right next to you and you got all this chaos, you're just like, this is too much. Let's go upstairs and let's watch the show.
Could you see it from the balcony?
Yeah, so it wasn't
too bad. People watch up there too.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Launchpad?
I haven't.
So it's a small venue, no backstage, really tight, really intimate, and that's what's cool about it. What I loved about it is I took a step back and was like, this is like, I felt like an old head, but like, I was like, this is so sick. Young people just dancing to music. And like, this is at the core of what it is. Mm-hmm. And even if it's 1990, 2024, people are still just wanting to have fun in these intimate, tight clubs where it's hot, it's sweaty, it's smoky. And you're just like, oh, this is a vibe. But I was like, okay, I've been doing this for 10 plus years. Let's go to the balcony and watch Victoria for the rest of that set.
Been there, done that.
Yes, exactly. And then it was an 18 plus event. So we had to get wristbands for 21. And I was like, let's just exit through the bar because it was chaos in the front part. And so I was like, nice, because we're 21, we get to leave early. So that was a fun little thing we did. But other than that, pretty chill.
Well, congratulations and welcome to the Old Heads Club. All right.
We go to the balconies and sit and watch.
That's right. All right. So let's get into it here, Maura. I want to dive a little bit deeper into your company. I know we want to talk about, the experience that you're giving your clients and maybe get into some, just into the finer points of Maura Jane Photography. But let's start at the beginning. First of all, how did you get into photography?
Oh, gosh. I grew up in rural Virginia riding horses, and I didn't have a horse that I was riding at this horse show, and my mom was like, "Go talk to the event photographer over there. Maybe they need somebody to help them." And so I was like, "Okay." I was only 14.
I love that.
And so I became his assistant, and then I started shooting for him, and then I just kind of fell in love with photography and decided to go to school for it, and ended up coming out here to study photography, and
How exciting.
met my husband and just never left.
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my questions. Like, then, yeah, how do you? Because I knew you're from the East Coast, so how do you get out here? So you actually came out here for school for photography.
So did you attend UNM and MSU?
I went to the small school in Santa Fe, College of Santa Fe. It's
Sweet.
sadly not around anymore,
Oh.
but and it was an amazing little art school, and I
It
just
probably was perfect for you.
it was, and I fell in love with the Southwest, and after meeting Brandon, I just decided this is where I wanted to be, and
Oh, great.
settled down here.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
How long have you lived in New Mexico?
I moved out here when I was 18, so I'm not going to tell you how long, because then you'll know how old I am.
Fair enough.
There we go.
Let's just say I've been here longer than anywhere else.
I like it.
Tony's on a roll with aging people.
I'm so sorry. I was just curious.
This guy starts sitting in the mezzanine in the balcony, and
Right?
now he wants.
I'm just asking time questions.
Okay, so you get into photography, you come out here for school, and then tell us how that leads you getting into like the wedding industry out here, and then forming, somewhere along the line, you decided, I want to do this and make a business out of it. So
When I was in school, because of, Santa Fe is such a huge art market and such a small city, most of the people that go there are going there to be artists or, just to travel there. But it was pushed really hard on me in school to do fine art and put my photos in galleries. And so I got a job at a gallery, think this is what I needed to do. But I kept telling my teachers, I was like, I want to work in the wedding industry. And they would look at me like I'm crazy. Why would you want to do that? And so when I graduated college, I started working with some photographers in town and really realized that this is what I wanted to do. But I just kind of knew that it's not that the way they were doing it was wrong, but it just wasn't the way I wanted to do it. And I really wanted it to be about the experience that we offer our couples and less about like the technical side of things.
Right.
And I mean, of course, we're all technical because, we work with equipment for a living.
yeah, that's part of it, right?
Yeah. And so I just decided to start my own business. And I think being from the East Coast has a lot of influence on our style, and it being more of that ethereal, fine art, bright, colorful look instead of like the dark, moodier style. So that I think has a lot of influence on that.
Stands out a lot for sure.
Oh, thanks. And just the girls that work for me, they gravitate towards that style as well. Like Sarah's from Texas. We're all kind of transplants. And
Funny.
and
That's normal Santa Fe.
That benefits you though a lot because then it allows those styles from different places that people don't normally see, and so that it's a lot more unique to them.
yeah, and I just think that getting to know our couples and learning their story and becoming close to them in a way that a lot of other photographers aren't, like just we're with them every step of the way, and I give them tips on their engagement session and what to wear, and I want to help them build their timeline and go over their entire day to find out what's most important to them to have captured, and so that the day of is just not stressful for them. They're not worried about, is the photographer capturing this, or are my family photos going to run wild because grandma's missing, she's at the bar? Like, no, we're on that. We're going to take care of that for you so that you don't have to be stressed. And then working closely with really good DJs like you guys to make sure that the reception flows smoothly.
Right. So tell me, how long when you started doing weddings? I know you said you worked with other wedding photographers first, right? And then when you went and formed your own company, was it just you like solo for a while, and then you decided? How long did it take you to go from being like a solo op to a multi-op where you have multiple photographers working with you?
I think that I was by myself for a year and a half, and I met Sarah very early on.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah. And she's been with me, forever.
Right. And how long have you had the business, Maura Jane Photography, now?
2014. is when. So
10 years.
almost 10 years. Oh yeah, it'll be 10 years this October.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, baby.
That's exciting, though. How
Yeah,
cool.
It's
that's awesome.
exciting.
I started DJing in 2014, funny enough.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Where did we meet?
Probably Dream Factory. If I had
Oh,
to
that's
guess.
right.
Right. Yeah. So, and I went full time in 2013.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've been DJing for a lot longer than that.
Well, you've been DJing longer, but the Cutmaster started.
Actually, Cutmaster, I believe I started in 06.
Oh, wow.
But it was just a part-time. That's when I actually started.
You started Cutmaster.
Yeah, Cutmaster and formed the business.
Yeah.
But legitimately cut the cord from all my other jobs that I was doing, from that time until 2013. That's when I went full time with it.
Nice.
And just
Jumped in.
all the focus on here. So tell me, how was that like for you? Because I know for me, super scary, right? Like going full time, giving up your 9 to 5. I had gone to school for something completely different, done all of this stuff, and then took my hobby and turned it into a company.
Yeah.
So how was that for you? Like the transition of what did you just always do photography? Was that it, or did you have
No.
something else? And then you were like,
Gosh.
"This is it. It's time."
I've definitely always worked in the service industry. I've been a waitress at so many restaurants, and
Nice.
I am a terrible waitress. I've been fired so many times.
So bad at serving. I'm right there with you.
And
I can't see that though, because you're like, I feel like at the
That's what
core
we
of what we
do.
do, right? Like
Yeah.
we kind of in a way serve people and do that.
Serve
But
people with
it's
our
not.
passion.
It wasn't working with the customers.
Yeah.
It was having a boss.
Yeah.
see
and
that? Okay.
and that's what I mean. I just wasn't wanting to work under somebody.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
I, believe it or not, worked at Sprint, and
Nice.
I worked in
Like a telemarketing?
like
Call center?
retention.
Yeah.
So anybody that wanted to cancel was transferred to me. And I still
Wow.
have nightmares about this job.
That's a hard job.
It really did teach me how to work with people, though.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
kind of how to recognize a problem before it happens.
Mhm.
And
Well, and kind of like our industry, especially when we get different inquiries, different types, right? Different types of people. So I'm sure every time that phone rang to you, you didn't know what type of person you were going to be dealing with, right?
Yeah. And I couldn't get out of that place fast enough. But starting the business, I started it slowly while also like working a part-time job. But then jumping full-time, it was terrifying, because I was completely on my own. I didn't have like a nest egg to fall back on with, money-wise. And I
Was
was
there
just-
like a certain amount of weddings you wanted to like have before you fully cut the cord?
Yeah. So basically, I when I went full time, I said, okay, I need to keep the weddings at this amount and my family sessions at this amount, or I'm gonna have to try to get another part time job. And it just never ended up happening because the hustle was just there.
It's awesome.
So yeah, it's been a blessing, but it was absolutely terrifying.
It's funny because I remember when I made that jump too. Same thing. I made sure the ball was rolling. But then when I made the jump, it was like, dang, I wish I'd have done this like 5 years ago,
Same. I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? So during COVID, I kind of stopped a little bit, but that's why I was doing a lot of workshops and mentoring because I wanted
That's right.
the younger photographers out there to know that they can do it.
Yeah.
And there's a standard in the industry, and I want that to be set because I feel like what I went through to start my business isn't necessary for everybody to go through, and
They can like learn from your
learn
mistakes.
from my
And
mistakes. And
that's
Right.
great.
That's awesome. Well, that's one of the things that I've always, enjoyed about you. You've always, I feel like, are as someone that has given back to the industry. You've done these workshops. I think didn't you do a talk with like Wed Talks?
I've seen you speak at Wed
Yeah.
Talks.
Yeah.
that was I talked at Wed Talks, and I community over competition.
Right.
You guys have probably talked about that, and
Mhm.
my biggest competitors are also my closest friends. Like
Yeah.
Alicia and I are good friends. Like
Right.
we text about the industry and business stuff, questions all the time to each other. Like it's not cutthroat in New Mexico. I think some other states it is, but
It's pretty vicious, I think, and the more, I don't know, I've got a lot of friends that I network with, and especially it feels like the East Coasters.
Yeah.
I've got like this huge conglomerate of friends that are centered around like the
Yeah.
New Jersey, New York area, and there's just it's saturated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that's where a lot of that cutthroatness comes into play. Where I mean, there's just it seems like there's so few events for as many vendors and people that there are. Whereas out here, I feel like we've got the opposite problem where there's so many events, we can't do everything. And also, I feel the same way as you. Like most of us vendors, I feel that I know at least locally here, we all want to kind of see each other rise together, right? Like,
Yes.
so, and you're right. It's nice. It's nice having that, and not that cutthroat.
Yeah. Well, even having quality
mentality.
people to recommend, like
yeah,
having,
that's so important.
yeah, it is, because we can't, like you said, do all of those weddings. There's only 52 weeks in a year. And if you're doing a wedding every single weekend, that's 50 weddings. And there's like 12,000, 19,000 that happen every. So, I think it's important to push community over competition for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get into a little bit here talking about the experience, right? So you were talking about how the things that you've learned, and this might be some of the things that you talk about when you do your mentoring sessions, or we're doing those, and what the client experience is like at Maura Jane Photography. So like, what have you learned, or what are some of the things that you do that's maybe outside the norm or different from, what maybe some cookie cutter type operations might do?
Weddings are extremely stressful we realize that for couples.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, especially when like the parents are heavily involved and the family starts to take over the day. So we're just there to answer any questions that couples have that come up. Like, you can email us anytime. I tell brides they can text me. I'm not going to respond at midnight, but if you have any, like, if you need recommendations, I help our couples build their timeline in a way that I know is going to alleviate stress, like adding cushion time.
Mm-hmm.
We never do all the photos during cocktail hour. If we highly recommend a first look. If they are completely opposed to it, that's fine, but we still try to knock out at least all the bridesmaids, all the groomsmen, individual portraits before, so that not everything's crammed into cocktail hour. We give them a recommended shot list for family, and we tell them, like, you should probably stick to this list. You can let us know who else is important, but the more you go over this, the more stress it's going to add, because you're pulling in more people. It's going to get more chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And just little things like that.
These are things people don't think about. That's what I'm hearing. I'm like, oh yeah, I would never even have thought of that. So that's like really appreciative for sure.
Yeah, and just working closely with the wedding planner and the DJ to, like, what's next, what's happening, like, are there any fires that need to be put out? And like, it's funny, we just recently posted a reel that we are so much more than photographers, the hats that we wear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just videos of us fixing hair, putting in veils, bustling dresses, running and grabbing water.
Yep.
I've bustled more dresses than I can count.
That's crazy. I completely believe it.
Yeah.
Add professional bustler
Right?
to
Or you're often putting
Maura's
on
list.
the floral on all of the guys or whatever.
Therapists.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, maybe outside of a planner, if they have hired a full-time planner, which many don't, the photographer is going to spend the most time with the couple throughout the process, right?
That's why it's so important to hire someone that's a good fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do a phone interview and you're just not vibing with us, like, we understand that. Like, you're going to be with your photographer more than anybody else, more than your spouse on your wedding day.
Yeah.
And even if you do hire a planner, which we highly, highly, highly recommend, we're still going to be with you as soon as you're getting ready, all the way through the party, and all those little in between moments. So
it's important to make sure you click with somebody because they're spending that extended amount of time.
Well, in all honesty, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like if you don't click, and on the converse that you really click, that's going to come through in the photos.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's why another thing we stress, engagement sessions are so important. And we get a lot of out of town brides from Texas, California, that want to switch the engagement session for their rehearsal dinner. And we tell them that the engagement session is complimentary, because that's how you get to know us. That's how you become comfortable in front of the camera, so that on the day of, it's like easier.
A lot easier,
Being in front of the camera is awkward, and we understand that, and we want to make it less stressful. We want your pictures to come out better. So do the engagement session. It's highly worth it.
Nice. I love that you guys just complimentary do it because it really benefits you guys
Yeah.
as well. So you're like, please let us do this for you because it's only going to help us out.
I
love
feel it's almost like a disservice not to do one.
Yeah.
So it's like do the engagement session, and there's even been times where we'll do them the week of the wedding, which is that can be tough, but we'll make it work. We want to meet you before the big day. We don't want to show up and be like, "Hey, nice to finally meet you."
Yeah. That's I've noticed that happen a couple times where we'll have couples who are out of town and we only Zoom. And then you finally meet them day of, and you're like, "What's up?" You talk with them, but it definitely feels different when you're able to meet with them beforehand, talk with them, and all of that.
And if I'm going to be showing up in the getting ready room when you're in your underwear, like you probably want to meet me before.
Yeah, you want to be a little comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
That's funny.
So let's talk and dive a little bit deeper here. Because when you start to form your own company and business, you have to think of things, right? Like branding. What are we going to look like on social media, marketing, all of this stuff. So how did you get to the point to where like your branding is to what you are today? You might talk about maybe from the beginning, like does it all look and feel the same, or has that evolved over time for you? Like the experience as far as not day of, but like how people find you and the branding and marketing aspect of it.
Oh, geez. I feel like marketing and social media it's so exhausting sometimes.
Right.
Man.
And
Said it.
keeping up with all the trends and the TikToks but I've always, like I said from the beginning, I've always gravitated more towards the more ethereal and fine art style. But a brand is not just a logo, and it's not just colors. So it's like, yeah, I've always kind of had that signature blue color, but it's also about the experience that you offer clients. And I also think it's important.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
What, Siri?
Oh my gosh, Siri. What are you doing? Siri didn't get that, Maura. Could you please
Siri.
That's funny.
Good
No,
Lord.
but you're saying it's like about their experience, right?
Yeah, and it's about the experience. It's not just about the logo. And also I think it's so important to have a face to your brand that, to let people know who you are and that you are a real person and that you have real life experiences, that you have struggles, and just to put a face to the brand too.
I really like that because I've noticed, especially, I don't know, I feel like with DJs, when I look at different DJs, especially the website or a lot of their social media, you just see the gear and the stuff, or maybe even the people, but you never see them. Like I'm looking at your website right now, and you scroll down just right below the fold, and there you are, meeting Maura Jane. So I think there's something. I think you're right. Like there's something to that, And then I'm sure I can go in here if I just go to the top, which is going to be pretty easy. Go to your about here, and we're going to learn probably about your other photographers, right?
Yeah.
Meet the team. There it is. So, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we feel that it's very important to be aligned with who your DJ is. So I'm not sure what your process is, but I know it's important for us when an inquiry comes in that basically if it fits and aligns with Tony, I hand it off to him, and then he goes through that experience really with them the whole way, because we want them, just like you, to be comfortable. You have to be comfortable with your DJ and make sure that you guys align. If I'm just talking with you over the phone, but I'm not going to be the guy that's with you, kind of doesn't make sense. There could be a disconnect if I just have a random show up to your wedding day, right?
Yeah, no, we definitely don't do that. Our team started to really grow and grow and grow, and I started to have more associates, and I just realized that the experience was being compromised and the quality control. That was
Right.
so now it's very small again. And when I talk to the bride on the phone, I'm very upfront that we are a team and that so and so is who's available on your date. And then, I'll show them weddings they have done. But all of us shoot extremely similar. I bet you probably couldn't pick who's who on the website. And all the editing is done by the same person so that it has that seamless look.
Nice.
And of course, everybody has different personalities that they bring to the table, but we all have the same goal in mind. So I think that whether you get me or Sarah or Cheyenne, your experience is going to be that same, experience that you would get.
Yeah, you've
with us.
you've streamlined things really nicely to where, yeah, that you're right. Like you're always on brand, right? Like
Is
so to
3 your sweet spot in terms of like team members? You like that?
Yeah, I think 3 is our sweeps. We used to have Hannah, my cousin. She sadly moved back to Florida. I miss her so much. But now we have the amazing Cheyenne.
Great.
And so it's just the 3 of us.
I love that because, like you said, you're able to control it, really make sure you're integrated with each client, and it's not reaching out too far to where you're like, well, we have so many weddings, we don't know what's what, or miscommunications, different things like that. So that's
I don't ever book a wedding without the photographer in mind for the couple.
That's great.
That just seems so stressful.
Right.
To me.
I mean, that makes so much sense because then it lines up with everything we talked about on like having the right person. You could pick up a client and then they could be a horrible client that maybe you shouldn't have taken the wedding. You know what I mean? And so we.
Oh, gee.
Oh yeah, I've definitely had
Red
those ones.
Red flags.
Where then that's what we try to do is we try to see red flags in the meetings so that we can align with clients that will give us the best product for both them and us as well, you know.
Yeah, and I definitely can recognize red flags when they come in. And
What's some of your big red flags?
like one that comes in and they're like, "Hey, our wedding, we haven't booked the photographer yet, but we got our DJ and our florist and our venue, and like they have
Every other
everything
vendor hired.
but photography." And I'm like, I'm probably not.
so
probably not a
that
good
tells
fit
you
for
the
this.
that
priorities.
does because
Prioritize.
right. That tells you okay, they're not putting photography at the forefront, which is not typically the type of clients that you align with, right? Like
There is nothing wrong with that.
Of
I
course.
do not expect to be number 1 on every single bride's
Yeah.
list. And the ones that photography is the most important thing to them, and those are going to be the brides for us.
Yeah.
See, that's us. The people who want the
You want the
entertainment.
party people.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we want a big party. We want people to remember and dance all night. You know, we're like, okay.
Yeah.
I start hearing those things. I'm like, let's go.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And
yeah.
I'm sure you guys see that too, that, you know, if they're coming in, they're like, well, you know, we're getting a DJ because we have to.
Yeah.
And
yeah, or they'll tell us
yeah, you're like,
We're not
we,
big
we need a
dancers."
DJ, but I have a list of 500 songs already picked out in this order. We just need somebody to play these. It's
Yeah.
like
that's an iPod's job.
Yeah, right.
right? It's like
Get a Spotify account. Call it a day.
No, but I mean, you're right. But then that's the bonus of being in demand, right? And I
Yeah.
think when you get really good at your niche, your craft, your skill set, then you become higher in demand. And then the holy grail happens where, yeah, people are coming to interview you and they might think they're interviewing you, but we are actually interviewing you on the other side of the table just as much as you're interviewing us.
On my website, it says who we are. And then if you click it, it says, who are you?
Ooh.
So what is the Maura Jane bride or groom? And there's definitely couples that, you know, that we know gravitate towards us, and they have a lot of things in common with each other.
Yeah. That's great, though, because that just makes it easier for you.
That's funny that you say that on your website because when on ours, it's very similar. When you go down, it says how the Cutmaster experience works, and then which Cutmaster experience are you?
Yeah.
Are you the signature? Are you, or do you need just some simple sound and lighting, or are you Premiere and need to go big? So that very similar. Like we're kind of aligned in that, and trying to figure out and just really trying to get ourselves the ideal client. Because if I have somebody that I'm just super into this event, like they're an awesome, amazing couple, I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm gonna work so hard for you, right?
Yeah. And it's wanting couples too that trust you and trust you to do what you do.
Yes.
And I can tell right away if they don't trust us because they're like, here's like my Pinterest board of 5,000 photos and my shot list, and it's
Micromanaging.
like you got to put your trust in us to capture your day.
Trust the professional. You
Yeah.
hired them for a reason, and you have to trust that they know what
Well,
they're
isn't it funny? Like sometimes when you get people that come in and they're like, "We love what you do," and then they give you the 5,000 shot.
do it
list
this way.
and,
Yeah.
and it's like,
But do it this way.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Okay, so let's shift a little bit here. And can you discuss the role of technology in enhancing the client experience in photography? Like, are there any particular tools or software that you found are like must-haves that help you, just create a better client experience?
This could be
Li-
anything,
little
not
nu-
even just photography.
Could be nuggets for the photographers out there, though.
Like maybe your email system or anything like that?
I use Dubsado, which
For email?
for client management.
Great.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
is great
CRM.
because the CRM, yeah, and it keeps everything looking on brand with the colors, but also it keeps everything in order for invoices and contracts, and just keeps us super duper organized. So,
Nice.
and I don't think Dubsado is better than like Honeybook. Or do you guys use one of those too?
No, we use it's called DJ Event Planner. I mean, it's a CRM. It's very
Yeah,
similar.
so
It's dedicated around the DJ world, right?
How we handle the invoices, the contracts, all that
But
stuff.
I think that's super important. Something that you said right there that some of you may have missed out on, especially if you are newer, all right, and you're looking to maybe do your own thing. The details matter. So having your branding and the look on your invoices, on your emails, your signature, little things like that. Always keeping everything on brand, right?
And then just streamlining your systems.
It makes it so much easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Like back, when I first started, I used JotForm for contracts, and I used.
I remember that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, or like I think we used QuickBooks for invoices, so it was all separate. So I was having to send, here's the contract, here's the invoice, and then it was just a lot to keep track of.
It's more work to do.
It is, yeah.
So when you have it all centralized in one, that is nice. Cool. Anything else you're using?
Well, I think all photographers use Photoshop and Lightroom,
Great,
Right.
and all of those things.
Okay, so I know that, and I used to use Lightroom when we would go snap some photos from behind the scenes at our events and stuff, but I haven't used it in a long time. But I know and I've heard that the AI integration is pretty.
What's your opinion on
good.
that? Are you using it? Are you?
Yeah, I have tried out the AI editing,
Yeah.
and I have a personal editor, and I would never leave her for AI
course,
because
right.
AI it does a good job, but it doesn't have that personalized touch. And so I think the AI is up and coming, and it's a little scary for some artists. But something that I have used AI for in Photoshop is like just removing things from photos. It makes it really quick and easy.
Nice.
And just like joking around with it. There's like turning all the iPhones in a photo to puppies or something.
Hilarious. Love
That's
that. You're
I
just
don't
having
know,
fun with it.
Every time I use AI for like photo stuff, I seem to have end up with like 7 fingers on one hand. And,
That is something AI has not gotten yet, is hands
Right.
and fingers, and it adds like 2,000 fingers.
I know.
Like, what
Or
the
like
heck?
it's like I'm asking it to spell something and it can't get it
Yeah.
right. Like it's like the spelling is completely wrong.
Yeah.
It's like Cutmaster. I'm like, no. Like,
I think AI can be very helpful in
Yeah,
some ways
definitely.
when used right.
But like you said, it doesn't have that personal touch, and that's something
No.
we've all noticed. Is like, yes, you can use it, but you have to like use it and then do your own personal.
That's what we
to it.
feel like with our industry. I know a lot of DJs, they're all on edge. Like, oh, AI's coming for the DJ job. They're not going to need us. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a robot, a computer. And there's nothing that's going to be able to just, I don't know, give that personal touch of an actual human playing music to a crowd, right? And feeding off of that and reading that
Crowd reading,
emotions.
I think
like,
is something
Yeah.
that can't. I mean, maybe one day, but you have to be able to realize if
yeah.
a song's a dud in live time, right?
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work, the AI may just let it roll out for 3 more minutes. Whereas
Yeah.
us, we play a dud. Oh, okay, let's spin out of it. Let's do something else. And so,
The personalized experience is not there.
Mm-mm.
And that's so important for both of our brands. So.
yeah, it really is, especially with weddings.
So let's end with that and a final question here. So, what advice would you give to other photographers who are looking to elevate their client experience but might be struggling to find like their own unique approach?
Something that I did early on was I did do a lot of mentoring, and I did do a lot of education and going to workshops and just seeing what everybody else is doing.
Mhm.
And that helped me tremendously in trying to mold who we were.
Just kind of pick and choose things
yeah,
that
just
work,
seeing
what
like
you
things
like.
that work, and just getting inspired from others out there that really know what they're doing,
Right.
and have been doing it a while.
Yeah.
And like going to fun things, like we've gone to wedding MBA together,
Mhm.
and just seeing what everybody else out in other states is doing around the world. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a great tip because I feel like, especially, we're in the DJ world, a lot of people, and I think maybe just in the wedding industry in general, you get kind of stuck, right, and tunnel visioned. And this is the way I do things. And I mean, we see this a lot, and this is the way we've been doing it for 15 years, and you don't ever change and shift and adapt. And I think by doing things like Wedding MBA and seeing what the current trends are and things like that, and then getting around other people from other markets and seeing what they're doing and how can I do that, or, I like that, but I think I'm going to try to do it this way and shift it, is really important to just, number one, always staying creative,
Stay fresh.
Yeah.
and then pushing limits and boundaries and trying to be unique and not just be copy and paste what others are doing, right?
Yeah. Also, we still do workshops and we still go and see what's out there because trends change.
It's always changing.
Things are always changing. Our brides are getting younger. And so we're trying to keep up with all that as well. And I just think it's so important to, go out there and be educated on like what's happening now and not just be stuck in your little bubble.
Right.
Yeah, it's very true because the culture changes and how people approach certain events and different things. I'm noticing, did you guys see that Coachella hasn't sold out yet? So that there's a very big theory that festivals are actually on their way out.
Really?
Gen Z isn't as big of a festival group as millennials were, and this is what's showing it.
They're going to festivals on Fortnite.
Yeah. But it just goes to show you that things are changing, right? People aren't always wanting to go to these big shows, or now we live in a time where you can go to all of these artists who are touring every single year and you don't have to find them at one festival like it was 5 years ago. And so, yeah, things change, things evolve, and you have to be able to evolve with the times. And especially if the bride gets younger, right? We got to figure out what they're doing, what they're listening to, where their eyes are, whether it's on social media or used to be on TV, right? But now it's all on the phone.
It's all social media. And it's sad for us too as photographers, as like things that have changed now recently is like nobody really gets on a computer anymore to look us up. So it's like, how often do we shoot horizontal images anymore? Everything is vertical to fit with the phone.
You know what's interesting? TikTok is now pushing horizontal videos. They will push your video if it's a horizontal because they're trying to compete with you.
That's great for videographers.
Yeah. It's great for videographers, right? Hard for photo. But you can do like, I'm noticing photo slideshows with a song in the background and different things like that. But they're pushing horizontal video to compete with YouTube because YouTube's still king.
That's right.
It looks like YouTube's going to be king. But we'll see how TikTok goes. UMG, Universal Music Group, they didn't reach a deal. So all of that music by Taylor Swift, Drake, is not going to be licensed anymore. So a lot of the music's going to be off in like a year or so. So YouTube, they're saying keep feeding the YouTube machine because it's staying strong.
It's so hard to keep up with all the social media.
I know.
You know what? I feel like you guys do a pretty good job, though.
Kill it. And I love how relevant you are with like CapCut. You do a good job.
I love like your thing with where you guys do the it just like flew out of my brain right now. No, but you have one that you guys tend to do a lot and very often. I'm gonna have to cut this like
like on the reels.
Yes.
Is it like a recap?
No. What is it that you guys are always doing? This is your sign. This is your sign to do, to do this at your wedding or whatever. Like, those are good. Like, I like those.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a girl who does our social media, and she's
crushing it.
Much younger than I. And so
you have a Tony? You have a Tony at Maura Jane?
of course.
Try.
Her name's Hannah Joy, and she just is from that younger generation. She's like so good at reels. And I think that's another thing, like outsourcing and delegating.
Yes, that's very important.
Another good tip for up-and-coming photographers is figure out what you're good at and then outsource the rest.
Yep.
Because I don't know how to make a TikTok.
And judging from that, I would never know, judging from your socials.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like
most people don't know it's not me either, unless I'm a big dork behind the green screen like we were last week, But it's all Tony over here. So that's awesome. Well, that's good stuff. Some good insight into MJP. That's appreciate you talking about that. We're gonna keep it moving. You ready?
Let's do it. You know it.
Gonna do it.
It's time
with Maura
for the
grab bag.
What is this?
That was pretty good.
That's our little.
That's our grab bag.
That's our little bit of ridiculousness that we like to add into this segment that we call
like. What is happening?
It's like you're not the only one. Every guest that comes in and we do that with, they're like, what do I do? What do I do? What's happening? And we just act a fool. So anyways, this segment is called the Grab Bag, and we are actually going to go to TikTok. We're going to play a few of these here. We're going to hear what they have to say and their little tidbit, and then we're going to discuss and talk about it.
Sure.
So this first one is asking or is talking about wedding parties possibly being phased out. So let's see what we got here.
I believe it.
The new trend is going to be where there's no bridal party anymore. And it's just going to be your friends maybe dressing in all the same color or something, but they're not assigned to the bridal party.
Yeah, I've actually seen a lot. I've booked a lot this year where they don't have bridal parties, just a maid of honor and a best man, and that's it. That is a trend I'm okay with. I don't really feel any type of way about it. It's easier for us, obviously, but that doesn't mean that I hate bridal parties.
Yeah.
These are photographers that are
I
talking
just
about
think that sometimes it can be a bit much.
Yeah.
The more people that you have, the more complicated it gets, and sometimes they don't like each other.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it frees up a lot of that, planning process. It's like, oh, go get a black dress. That's,
Two weddings I shot last year, there were instances where members of the bridal party were kicked out, given the boot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either on the day of or
On the day of.
on the day of.
Spicy.
Oh God.
Damn. Removed.
Goodbye.
Wait. With the bride telling you wear that dress to my wedding.
No, it was more complicated than that, but
Ooh, that's spicy though. Not to say I love hearing it, but listen.
I like the tea,
Oh, yeah,
I'm never gonna turn it down.
I'd love to see a throwdown one of these days.
Like-
The new trend.
Okay, so I feel the same way. Like I feel like last year I saw more just bride and groom and them sitting at a sweetheart table, not walking down the aisle.
And then maybe a best man, maid of honor, and that's it.
What do you think?
I am all for this trend. And just like she said, I have no problem with bridal parties. I love bridesmaids and all the beautiful dresses, and they could be so helpful sometime. But I feel like the larger your bridal party gets, the more stress it's going to add to your day, because a lot of times you're just adding people in because you feel obligated to, like, oh, if I have Brittany, I got to have Jessica. And they're just growing and growing and growing. And it cuts into your photo time, and it also just makes it so there's like so many more people that you're having to keep track of.
A lot of personalities to manage.
I had a wedding where they had like 25 people in the bridal party, and two of the bridesmaids were missing, and I'm like, oh, we gotta wait for these people, and the bride was like, no, just take the picture. Obviously, they probably shouldn't have been in the bridal party to begin with.
Right.
If
you didn't care that much.
Yeah.
But that's a good point in that I feel like it alleviates so much stress to not have the wedding party, and you don't have to worry about, oh, Jessica isn't in, so I have to have Sarah in.
Yeah.
You can just keep it as a level playing field. So then you're not having to stress about all of those people being a part of it. And then it makes it easier on the photographer, the DJ, right? When we have to introduce the wedding party, if we only have to introduce best man, maid of honor, bride and groom, we're like, oh, cool, way easier.
I just booked a wedding, and I one of the questions I asked is, how big is your bridal party? Because it is going to affect your timeline. And she said, we don't have a bridal party, but all my girls that I'm closest to, I asked to wear blue because they're my something blue. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that.
He said something. But ask your guests to wear something that matches.
Yeah.
I love that idea, because then you can still get the look, the feel of the photo, but then you're not obligated to.
Yeah, and then your friends still feel included and important. But yeah, and then we've had weddings where they just don't have a bridal party, and they do a first look, and guess what? They attend their entire cocktail hour. Yeah.
That's
or they
nice.
have like 30 minutes alone time and then attend the tail end of their cocktail hour. And it's like,
Great.
especially if you're having a wedding with a lot of out-of-town guests, like you want to spend time with everybody. So
It's a bummer to have this big old day and then you don't even see half of them because of everything just happening so fast. People don't realize weddings are fast too.
They are.
So you have to make sure you're intentional about your time and all.
And that's another thing that adds a lot of stress to your day, is trying to do every little thing. And I'm sure you guys see a lot of that at the receptions. They're like, okay, well, this is what I've read is at the standard wedding. So I got to do the bouquet and garter shots. I got to do the La Marcha. I got to do the anniversary dance. I got to do the cake cut. I got to do this. And then it's 9, 10 o'clock and you're like, haven't even started partying yet.
Yep.
For real.
Yeah, and half your half your crowd
They're
is
already
left.
leaving or
Yeah.
they're done. But yeah, we'll try and give them, like, when they tell us those things, we'll be like, okay, well, what's really important to you? Yes, you saw those things, but do you care about having the shoe game being played?
Exactly.
Well, not really. Okay, well, then let's take that out. Let's
Yeah.
let's throw in something else, or just add it to open dancing time, right? Just trying to give them, make the idea seem like it's their idea and they're coming up with it,
Yeah. And can we
and
get
just-
rid of garter and bouquet cups?
I hate them. I mean, I don't hate them, but they're just awkward. They kill your dance floor,
I feel like I'm seeing less of them.
Yeah. I
So that's
bouquets
I like
way
that
more
trend.
than garters. But yeah.
Yeah, the garter. It's a little creepy.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
the
a
history
little bit
behind
weird.
it is actually really dark and gross.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious now.
It all started when in like medieval times,
Okay.
where the bride and groom would be going to consummate the marriage,
Okay.
and the groom would rip a piece of her dress off to distract all of the guests while he's trying to sneak her out, or she would throw the bouquet at them to kind of distract because they would be trying to rip her
How
dress off.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and it goes back like veils were all about not seeing each other before,
Right.
and
Huh. It's interesting how things evolve.
there's
From-
some
and,
dark
like,
things. In
Yeah, right? That's
Sometimes I'm glad I'm not in medieval times. Like,
Game of Thrones.
for real. Sheesh.
yeah, no red weddings. We don't want any of those. Okay, we're gonna go keep
Next
it
one,
moving.
next one.
This next one is a quick one, and talking about our favorite songs to play at weddings.
Nice.
Okay, wedding hot take number 3. And I feel like this is going to have a 50-50 agree or disagree.
All right.
We're talking wedding music. For goodness sake, stop playing synchronized dances at weddings. The cha-cha slide, the electric slide, the wobble, literally all of them. All of them, they should be banned from all weddings. We put all of those on our absolute do not playlist, and I couldn't be more grateful that we did that. Okay, wedding hot.
I think they're good tools, but you do not need them.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my opinion.
But interesting. I want to hear Maura's take from a photographer's perspective, like on like some of those like line dances and
Cha-cha
typical
slide.
wedding.
Or Cupid Shuffle.
I think that if you're doing them back to back to back to back, it gets
Gets old quick.
Yeah.
you watch the crowd dwindle and dwindle. But honestly, I don't hate them. I think it's a good way if you have a crowd that's not a bunch of partiers to get people on the dance floor. And you guys are really good at transitioning. So say you play the wobble and then you transition into something that's going to keep them there.
Yeah.
And that's
Back that thing up.
Yep.
that. Yeah. I'm
Keep it
like,
out.
start with something that's like a booty shaking song.
Yeah,
It's going to
yeah.
keep people out there. Baby got back.
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly.
That's my only goal as a photographer is to have the dance floor full. And I'm
Right.
sure that's your goal too.
That's
Definitely.
And I don't really have an opinion like this girl does on the line dance.
She was pretty. Yeah, she's
I
very.
get it.
She feels very strongly.
A photographer.
I
Or
think she was a
DJ?
bride.
She.
Oh,
If I
okay.
had to guess.
Let's see.
She was like, we did that at our wedding, or right? That's what she said at the end.
Right, I believe so. So she gives wedding hot takes. Says 2024 bride. Yeah, so just wedding hot
Yeah.
take.
I try
Gina
to s-
Louise Love.
There's so much other music out there.
There is.
You do not have to play the line dances, but again, they're good tools. If you've got a dud dance floor and you want to get them back, you want to kickstart it. It's a good. I think not a lot of people will always dance the whole night away. So if you can get them as a photographer, maybe they did one dance, the
Yeah.
Cupid Shuffle, then bride and groom can see their photos later and be like, oh, Uncle Joe, nice, he danced too.
I think a trend that we're seeing is couples are really making weddings their own and getting
Yes.
away from things they feel obligated to do, like, oh, we have to do the line dancing,
Yes,
or oh,
the cake cutting,
we
or-
cannot see each other before we have to cut a cake. There's no rules.
Yes.
And we are loving that. Like, make the wedding your own. Do what you want to do.
That's what we tell all of our couples. It's like that's honestly why I love weddings, because they're all different.
Yeah.
Make it yours. If you want to, do a grand entrance into your first dance, do it. If you want to do your first dance later on, do it. If you don't want to do a first dance and you want to just a big party, do it.
Yeah.
Make it yours.
Whatever you guys want to do, we're all for it.
Yeah.
I feel like it makes it more fun too, because then we get to stay away from those standard weddings. They're all different. They're fun, and they're at least makes it a little more fresh, right?
Yeah, and unique to them.
Yes,
Right.
exactly, and more unique to us. We do so many weddings, so when we can make it unique,
I feel like
more fun.
every couple, that's all honestly at the heart of it. They
It's a big
really
one.
want I think they want everybody to have a great time, but they also want it to be unique like theirs. I want mine to be different than the ones I've been to.
Yep.
Yeah, and rememberable.
Rememberable.
Is that a word?
Yes,
Rememberable.
it is. We've got many.
Memorable.
The Cutmaster Cast actually has its own
Dictionary.
Yeah, it's
Different words.
glossary. Yeah.
Glossary.
Rememberable is one of them. So that's a good one. Okay, cool. We're gonna keep it moving. Next segment.
Yeah.
It's time to get tipsy. So Maura came to us and she was like, Chris, I've got tips. We got to do some tips. And I
We're
was
like, oh, we've got a segment.
it's like we do it. We're gonna get tipsy.
Play that song at weddings and I'll get on the dance floor.
There you go. Okay, now we know.
Okay, so today we're gonna give some tips, and I liked your suggestion of giving tips to our couples out there of how to alleviate wedding stress, which we kind of talked a little bit about already today. But let's get into it, and let's. This is the segment for you couples out there that are getting married, or if you got some friends that are getting married, maybe even vendors that can help some of the couples on alleviating stress. It's the most stressful day of your life, right?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get it started. What do you think?
What you got?
So I feel like we've touched on quite a few things already, but my number one is hire a planner.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if your wedding shout out to all my planners out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if your wedding is 500 guests or it's only 30 guests. Like I feel like that is just, it's so important. And as a wedding photographer, I still hired a planner. Like I knew all the vendors I wanted. I knew the look. I knew the design I wanted, but I still wanted somebody there to put out fires so that I could enjoy my day.
Yeah.
And that's what a planner is there for on your wedding day, is to be able to put out the fires, to be able to be in check with your vendors so that you're not having to worry about anything but having a good time, getting married.
So we've said it, like that day is the fastest day of your life. And I think for all of us, it's really important for our couples to have those moments, right? And for them to be and to be in the moment, because you have so many different things that are clamoring for your attention that day that it makes time go by a lot faster than it normally would. So, having, interactions that are meaningful with your guests and your family, it's really important to us. It's part of that experience, right? We want you to remember the day and having those interactions and not just like, oh my God, what happened?
I
Like,
was so stressed all day trying to figure it all out, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the beauty of the planner is they handle all that, so you can have that peace of mind and create those memories and not stress about it. You're like, I hired a pro. I can sit back and relax.
And a lot of things that couples, the misconception is that, oh, my venue comes with a planner.
Oh, yeah.
They're not your wedding planner. They are there to make sure that your food gets out on time and to make sure everything at the reception is going smoothly. They're not there to make sure your flowers arrive on time to your bridal suite in time for photos, or to make sure that everybody's lined up to go down the aisle at the ceremony on time. And there's been so many weddings where they don't have a planner, and I'm back there trying to line people up instead of taking pictures up at the front of guests, and it's
wearing hats that you
too many
shouldn't.
hats that I shouldn't have to wear. And,
right?
I'm happy to help and do it.
Of course, right?
Because I want the client to not be stressed. But if you want your photographer to be your photographer and not have to worry about other things, then hire a planner. And I'm sure you guys see that a lot too with receptions, trying to make sure everything starts on time.
Yes. It's so much easier for us to have a planner in play on a wedding day, because then we can focus on our role as opposed to other things, lining them up for the grand intro, making sure that the toast is or the champagne's being poured out, right? They can handle all of those things, so I can focus on DJing.
You can focus on your job.
Yeah. So that's a very good point on that I didn't really think about, but hiring a planner allows your other professional vendors to do their job and not do other jobs too.
Not wear all the different hats.
Yeah.
Right.
We're more than happy to, of course, but it does help.
No, we're not. Hire a planner. All right. So, okay. So I've got a few here. I actually put like a little bit of a list together so we can kind of think of something. We'll go kind of one at a time here. I've got do your prep work early. You know, I know there's been a few times, it seems like the ones that are most stressed are the couples that come to us, like, because we typically, or I like to have my final event review like the week of the wedding, right? So like on that Monday or Tuesday, we'll go through the timeline and agenda and discuss all the music, because I feel like at that point, everything should be finalized. So you should get all that done before. Now, sometimes, and that meeting, honestly, that final meeting usually takes maybe a half hour, 45 minutes tops. You know, you just kind of going through everything, talking through it all. But every now and then that meeting turns into a 2-3 hour meeting. And that's because that couple has done nothing at that point, and we're trying to decide what, literally, this has happened, what song she's going to walk down the aisle to. And I'm like, I'm not walking down the aisle. Like, because they'll look at me. What do you think? And I'm like, well, you could walk down to,
right?
See, you could walk down to this.
I already told you that. You gotta play that at my wedding now.
I'm like, that's not my wedding day. Like, and so here we are spending time like going through all these lists and all this stuff, right? So, you can just see the stress on their face, and they haven't talked this stuff out. And so, yeah, I think and it's not just with the DJ. I think everything, you know, doing as much of the legwork ahead of time, so that way, the ones that I think are the least stressed out are the ones that are asking me for like their final event review to a month or two before, and I'm like, we're okay, we got plenty of time, just wait. But they've got everything done, right? And they're just anxious and excited. They can't wait for the day to get there. So I don't know, what do you?
For me, based on that, I often to ask the couple, I'll reach out a month in advance to kind of help alleviate that, because a lot of times they have not thought about it, and then I'll be like, hey, you want to schedule a planning meeting, and then we can do one more final meeting, because then you can kind of get the ball rolling. I have a great example was I had a wedding in May, or I have a wedding in May. I met with them last week, and they were like, we haven't done anything. And I was like, that's expected. I would imagine so. You got 5 months. You're totally fine. But what I did is in that planning meeting, ask them a lot of questions, and then they were able to go to their venue and be a lot more prepared for that. So I feel like giving them the opportunity to think about those things and just reminding them could be really helpful as well. And then another thing I would say is book ahead. That's the biggest thing. We're always so bummed that couples aren't, or we're not available for them, or venues book out so fast. So I feel like as soon as you know you're getting engaged, or as soon as that happens, be sure to lock in the venue or lock in that date, because that's the thing that goes quick. And then once you have a date, then you can kind of start, okay, at the 3-month mark, where should we be? At the 10-month mark, it's horrible timing, but that's kind of what I mean. So yeah, I would say book ahead to make sure that you have everything, and don't give yourself a year and a half, 2 years to be engaged. Don't worry about how long it should be, because it's about having the time and making sure you can have it all organized and correct.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to cram it all in last minute, you're not going to get the vendors that you envision having. And to go back on what you were talking about, Chris, we do a phone call 3 months out. We send them a huge questionnaire.
Nice.
And all I need to know is what time your ceremony is, and then whether or not you're doing a first look, and then I can build your photo timeline off of that. And,
nice.
And if it's a planner that we work with all the time, they'll kind of already know the way we do things. So if they have the talk with the planner before us, they'll kind of already have their timeline mapped out. But I like to talk to them early on before they start setting things in stone and not realizing, oh, we need to make time for this. And
yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, and I know it really doesn't happen too often with us anymore, because we have in our CRM automation that's now kind of taking care of and sending out and pinging, you know, at this time, you know, you should start thinking about this or having this done. Make sure you have this done. So there's like a timeline of checkpoints along the way that just automatically gets sent to them, which was nice for me, because then when you have a lot of events in the queue, you'll just naturally forget if you're trying to keep track of all that yourself. So for me, it's like, okay, based on the date that they sign the contract, here's these checkpoints along the way where, you know, they get pinged and an email gets sent to them. It's pretty nice. Pretty helpful.
That is neat.
Yeah. You have another one?
Well, we already touched on big bridal party.
Yes.
That was definitely on my list of ways to alleviate stress. And we talked about prioritizing like what's most important to you. I guess I could touch more on that as far as your budget goes. Our ideal bride photography is going to be in their top 3, venue or flower. But if you're priority is not photography, that's fine. Spend your money on what's most important to you. Are you like really into style? So maybe your dress is most important to you. Are you a party person? So the DJ is most important to you. It's figure out what's most important and then just kind of make a list, and that's how you know where to put your money.
That's smart, making that like that, even that top 5, top 10 list,
Yeah.
and then you can visually see, okay, this is where we should probably look at hiring a higher end vendor or whatever that.
Yeah, because it can be overwhelming at first, right? When you
Exactly.
start to see, okay,
All the things you need.
Well, yeah, and then you just think about your budget in general. So let's just say, for example, it's $20,000, and you're like, I've got $20,000 to spend. You should think of it more in terms of, well, what are the,
What's important?
What is important to you in creating this day and this experience, right? And then you start allocating percentages. Okay, so I need to, give most of my money here, to the photographer and to the venue and and it needs to probably really be top heavy, right? Like, you have to, I think you can't allocate the same amount of budget to every single thing. It's not.
If brides that are working with a tighter budget, this is a good way to figure out where to spend your money.
Right.
And, I have to say, like, people think that all of our weddings are these big, gorgeous, like, $1 million weddings. They're not. Sometimes we get these couples that have a really small budget, but photography is so important to them that we're pretty much most of their budget.
Right.
And they end up being the couples that we,
some of the best
build
ones.
friendships with and stay in touch with. And
Totally.
It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Like that.
Okay, here's one for you.
What you got?
Have a backup plan for weather.
Oh yeah.
How about that for photography?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, if you're having an outdoor wedding, yeah, you should definitely have a plan B in case of bad weather. Could be a tent, maybe another, inside. I know weather has definitely affected plenty of our events, and we've taken that into consideration with like setups and different venues and whatnot and things like that.
Yeah, because if your wedding's in late July, early August, it's probably going to get rained on. Maybe not, but you know what I mean. It's
5 minutes.
But chances are
enough to
We're so lucky here.
I know.
that we get like 10 minutes of downpour, and then it's.
But it's enough to ruin it for us, right?
Like
Like,
yeah,
timing,
you
you're
guys,
like-
all your equipment.
yeah. So it's not like, can you just move it inside real quick?
It's all
quick.
taped down and
I know.
wired, and you're like, not
200-pound DJ booth.
That's not as hard for us because we'll
pretty
still
mobile.
shoot in the rain. If it's real bad, the assistant will hold an umbrella over
National
us.
Geographic.
Yeah.
We have a picture with Bao. I'll never forget this. Actually, I think was it at La Mesita? It was out, and we were in a tent out there at La Mesita, and it was raining like crazy. But the tent had a hole in it, and it was right over the DJ booth. And so Bao was holding an umbrella over my head in the DJ booth inside the tent.
That's a trooper.
Oh my god,
That's awesome.
it was crazy. It's silly. Yeah. So and on that too, like kind of thinking about plan Bs, how about having an emergency kit,
Yeah.
right?
So everything you need: Band-Aids, medicine,
safety pins,
safety
sewing
pins.
kit.
Shout wipes.
Yep.
Yes.
I've
Tied to
definitely.
go sticks.
I've had a wedding this past year where I stitched the bride into her dress.
Ah.
Talk about wedding planner hat. Her mom was zipping her up and the zipper busted.
Oh
no.
man, no.
That's crazy though. See, and that's why you're awesome at what you do, because you go
Thank you.
above and beyond, and you're able to help them with things they wouldn't even think about. We talked about it just last episode, with the book and doing service at
Yeah.
what is it? Unimaginable. I'm forgetting the name of the book.
Unreasonable hospitality.
Unreasonable hospitality, and that's just doing things that are just you would never think, but you do it because it's just how you're there to help them, and they would never think that the photographer would help with their dress, and then you do it and you save the day, right?
Save the day.
All I know is if you're asking me to stitch you up, you're getting stabbed. Like it ain't happening. Like
I carry a sewing kit and Band-Aids and shout wipes.
See, you have your own emergency kit because
I
you know.
carry the emergency kit.
Yeah.
yeah, that's Well, I actually have
Got a DJ emergency.
well, and I've got thank God I actually had a safety. Yeah, what do you call them? Like
Safety
little
pins?
safety kits.
A med kit.
A med kit, yeah.
oh, yeah.
Something like basically a med kit because a
First
few
aid
months
kit.
ago.
Sorry.
Gosh. Yeah. Eventually we,
Yeah.
but between the two of us, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a first aid kit in the car. Thank goodness at the end of the night, we're putting gear away in the trailer, and I have a ratchet strap that just decides it wants to fall, and right on top of my head, and it busted me open right on my brow right here. I'm bleeding like crazy.
Ow.
I mean, it looked like a murder scene in the trailer.
No.
And so I'm holding it, right? And I don't know, like, I can't see it. I don't know what's happening. I just see blood going all over the place. And I'm like, Bennett, go run into the truck, get out the first aid. I've got a first aid kit in there. Just grab it for me. As like, and actually there's a towel in there too. So even as vendors, you got to have emergency kits. You know, we've got extra cords, cables, microphones, all that stuff. And I've got an emergency kit just in case my knucklehead self decides to gash my head open. I thought,
oh my gosh.
yeah. And you know, just because it didn't last that long, but anything on the head just
eyebrow area.
Yeah, it was like,
it's smart to have backups for your backups.
Backups for your backups. Absolutely. All right. Any other ones that you all want to throw into the mix here before we move on?
Hydrate.
Hey.
Be sure to drink water. I've seen amazing parties crash and burn because they got too drunk.
We are in New Mexico, and
elevation.
We do a lot of destination weddings in Santa Fe, and I have people coming from sea level. They're up at the Four Seasons on the top of the mountain.
We're gonna party all night long.
Yeah.
Such a good point.
Doing shots, and they don't even make it to the grand entrance. Pace. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
Like, pace yourself. Drink water.
Take some breaks.
It hits so much harder.
I've mentioned that so many times as well. I'm like, okay, your guests are coming. They're coming from East Coast, you know, and I'm like, the elevation is real.
It is.
You know that you guys are gonna have open dancing for 6 hours, huh?
Yeah.
And they're in destination wedding. Okay.
Done by 9.
I know. So hydrate. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It happens. All right. It's time.
Oh yeah.
Great Scott! I finally invented something that works!
The appropriate question is, when the hell are we?
The anthems.
These are big moments that you capture.
Big moments. Everybody's excited. They're yelling. They're screaming. And I think that comes through the camera a lot.
See, and this is why the DJ we talk about it being a very key role that not a lot of people realize is we create those moments that the photographers are capturing, right? So we're paying attention to those songs, delivering them when they need to be so that the photographer can capture those in that real time. So I love that.
Cool. Any other ones or any
honorable mentions?
Oh, geez. I can't think of anything else right now.
That's tough.
But, yeah, those are like the ones that I thought of when you asked me that question. And then
those are good ones.
I think that when couples hire you guys, you just recognize what's going to get people on the dance floor. And if it's not working, you just, you know how to fade it out and bring something more else on. It's great working with you guys.
Well, it makes it a lot easier.
You keep the energy up.
Well, and you see like obviously we don't see other DJs, right? So you get to see a lot of them, like all the DJs around the area and town and stuff. And so you probably have a pretty good idea. Like we feel like it's very important to lock in. It can be tough, right? Like every group is distinct, is different, can be specific. And so you have to figure it out. Like what worked last week may not work this week.
Yep.
You know, if last week we were 90s rap, but this week they're all wearing cowboy boots and cowboy hats, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Baby Got Back maybe isn't the best
yeah,
thing, right?
Exactly, and you guys recognize that.
Yeah.
Pay attention to those things.
And I think that's important for the DJs, to recognize. And so that's where, how we listened to that TikTok earlier, and she was like, please, can we just get rid of, they have to be banned for life? Well, that may be that works for your wedding, but you know what? I've had plenty of weddings where honestly, that's all they want is like they're like, we love the cheese, play all the line dances. My family loves all that stuff.
Like, I just played one. Come on, give me 20 minutes.
Right. So
and recognizing the older crowd out, like at my wedding, my mom and her friends, they love to dance, and so I was like, bust out the Love Shack. They will be on the dance floor, like stuff like that. and getting that older crowd out there.
Recognizing it's not just one kind of specific group of people that want to party, it's everybody, and understanding how that works. Older people will dance earlier parts of the evening. As it gets later, people get tired, right? But we're still partying with the younger crowd, and we shift with that and just kind of pay attention.
I saw an Instagram post. Actually, it was someone, I think, just this morning, and it basically said, for my wedding, I'm going to put together the playlist is only going to be songs that I like. And it was like, imagine 2 hours of every single song that comes on, just singing, hell yeah, I love this song. And so it made me think, this is a bride that was, that had posted this. And it made me think, yeah, in your own little perfect world, right? In this bubble, everybody's going to love every single song. But what if they don't?
Yeah.
And if you're not on the dance floor and you give me this list of 200 songs, and then it's maybe, let's just say it's like some really different music. It's not mainstream stuff that most people know. And now you're only asking me to stick with this list, but you're not on. If you're on the dance floor, it's fine.
Chances are better that they're going to like it, enjoy it. Yeah.
People just want to party with the bride and groom. They're going to party with you no matter what. But if you're not on the dance floor with some of that,
They're going to look at the DJ and be like, what is this dude
what are you doing?
Yeah,
so
it's true.
So question for you guys, when couples book, do you allow them a certain amount of like do not play, must play songs? Or
I don't give them a number.
Me neither. I tell them to be as involved with the playlist as much as they want. So it usually goes one of two ways. Either they're like, oh, we love everything and we trust you, which is great. And then like my New Year's Eve wedding, I mean, he gave me a list of 200 songs for like dinner, and actually it was really cool. So for me, and they gave me a list of like 300 songs for open dancing. And he wasn't by any means saying you have to play all these. It was just like, this is all the stuff that we like and enjoy. Okay. And that's the way I look at it. And I tell him that, like, this is information for me, right? Like, okay, like this is great. So what was cool about dinner, you may have seen the TikToks or the Instagram posts where we hit the very first like anthem that came on during dinner. They all started screaming and singing along. And I was like, all right, we're doing anthems during dinner. And they had a bunch of them in that playlist. You can only play about 20 songs or so during an hour's worth of dinner.
Yeah.
And so it was cool. Like I got to go in and pick, and I just played them all off of there. They had a bunch of them on their list. It was great, So it just depends. I like for them to give me as much information as they can and as they want, and then trust us to read your dance floor, read your group.
Yeah.
Play to the.
I try to give them, the confidence that I can totally do it if you don't give me anything, but it's going to be extremely helpful if you give me songs, give me some general idea on what you guys are looking for, as well as what you don't want to hear. So if they want to give me a lot, great. If they don't, great as well. We want to just be as helpful as we can and not allow them to feel like limited or kind of, I think that's a good word.
Yeah, there's a lot of DJs though that it's so funny in the DJ groups. The DJ community is a funny community. They get all up in arms. How many of you limit them to songs? I hate when I get a big song list and this and that. And
or even taking requests is such a big stigma. From nightlife to weddings, and can we make a request? Is that okay? Of course. I'd much rather have an idea of what you guys want to dance and party to than me shooting in the dark and seeing what sticks. Give me an idea, because then we can run with it. Then I can figure out better on what's going to keep the party going, as opposed to just guessing.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode.
Solid episode.
Maura, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. Tell all the viewers out there where they can find you.
How do we find you? I want to get a photographer for my wedding. Where do I go?
Our website is maurajanephotography.com, and we're really active on Instagram. You can find us there at Maura Jane's with an S on the end of Jane Photo.
Nice.
There we go. Go check out their stuff. They're doing awesome stuff. I know we love it every time we get to work with you and your crew.
Ditto.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm like, oh, cool. Aww. Quality people on the team.
They're all awesome. Well, it's just kind of fun, like when you're working with other vendors that too. Like they're fun, they get it. Like it's it's just good vibes. So it's always good vibes with you and your crew.
We don't have like a lot of coworkers, so when we see each other, we're like,
it's true.
It's like seeing your coworker you haven't seen in forever.
So true.
Totally. All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you once again. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Thanks for checking out the Cutmaster Cast podcast. Make sure you stay tuned with all things related at www.cutmastermusic.com.